Hello, boys and girls. I would like to welcome you to the latest Trainers Talk. I am really excited to talk to this gentleman here. It's been a while. He is a maniac on the mountain bike and on the hills, but he's also the founder of Bears Resorts, and he led to the reason why I'm in California.
That's right.
Mr. Mark Harmon.
Yeah, man, do we get lucky?
Yeah, well, they didn't send me back, so it's all good. Thank you for joining.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you, Donavan. It's great to see you, and it's great to be with you.
Yeah, it's you have been, I'm glad we were able to talk. We were able to talk a couple of weeks ago, and you gave me some good advice to some things that I'm working on. But one of the things I wanted to kind of start with is, I've seen, at least you're posting it more often of you being out, surfing and on the bike and kind of being more of an outdoorsman. When you look over the last 40 years or so, when you were 20.
Since I'm only 40.
Yeah, since you're only 40, exactly.
Yeah, thank
you. When you were a little baby. So when you're in your 20s and 30s, versus your 40s and 50s, and is there a change or a different goal of mind that you have when it comes to fitness and wellness?
Yeah, that's for sure. We got to look after ourselves. We get to that certain age when you're not moving as quickly, and you want to stay in shape. So I've really gravitated a lot more into yoga because I've been doing a lot of surfing, right?
Yeah.
So and I'm surfed growing up. I do it a couple times a year, but man, that is one of the most challenging sports you can imagine.
Yes.
So I've been hanging out down in Nicaragua, and it's this beautiful beach on the Pacific, and it's a fast, big wave.
Yeah.
That basically, I'm taking my punishment every day out there, But you've got to be quick, and you got to move quickly. Imagine this, you're paddling like hell, completely prone position, and then you got to get up and make that happen in a split second, right? So what do you need for that? Flexibility.
Totally.
And, from lifetime of cycling and skiing and everything like that, my hips and, my flexibility is a little limited. So working a lot on yoga. And it's a tough deal. We're in an open air palapa that steps from the beach, and, we'll go for an hour and a half, 2 hours, listening to the waves and that sort of thing. So it's also a wonderful way to get some peace of mind.
Yeah.
And I have to say that those two elements of yoga, of really working on fitness and flexibility, but as well your mental state, made a big difference for me.
Yeah, it has that. What are some things that, taking that mental state, what are some things that have become more important to you as you've gotten older when it comes to that than that, probably you didn't think it was as important when you were younger?
Yeah, well, I think, when I was younger and working hard and starting the company and so forth, you're just moving so quickly.
Yeah.
And you happen to be raising a family, the most important thing. But by the way, you just don't, it seems like you never have enough time to really sit down and think about things and process it. You're moving, family of 4, I got to tell you, you must be busy all the time.
Yeah, I'm in that stage you're talking about right now where I feel like I'm running on a treadmill.
Exactly. And one of the things that I've been doing quite a bit of lately that I found really helps out on the mental health area is meditation.
Yeah.
So I've been meditating every morning. I've had a transcendental meditation practice, which is, repeating a certain mantra. I started that after college, but I never was doing it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And a couple years ago, I said, okay, I need to settle in on this, and I need to get some peace of mind. Sold the company, and it was time to move out of the, harried kind of, always going. The kids are out of the house. So how was I going to get to be a little more peaceful and calm? And meditation's really helped out a lot.
So tell me, is that part of your morning routine?
It's part of my morning routine.
So what does that look like?
So morning routine, depending on whether I'm in the mountains or at the beach. But I get up in the morning, and I meditate first thing.
Yeah.
I really like that. Clears the mind, before I read email, before I look at the news, before I really do anything.
Yeah.
And I find that, if I'm lucky, I'll get a good thought or two out of it, even though you're not supposed to be thinking.
Yeah.
But stuff will pop into my mind, and believe me, there's some stuff I go, yeah, I should have thought of that. So it's a great way to clear the mind and a great way to let those thoughts maybe that have been welling up in you but you're just really not conscious of come to the forefront.
Yeah.
Love it. It's great. Then after that, make a coffee, Yeah, with oat milk, by the way.
Okay.
I love oat milk. And then do some stretching and yoga. I either will go to a class or I'll spend 20 minutes or half an hour on the mat myself, just really stretching out. And then after that, it's either skiing or surfing.
Yeah.
Followed by breakfast. I've been doing a lot of intermittent fasting where I'm trying to put off my first meal. I used to be a regular breakfast eater.
Yeah.
Now I'll do a bulletproof coffee in the morning.
Awesome.
And then try not to eat until about 11 or 12. And my understanding on that, on the wellness side, is that it goes back several thousand years in Asian, Chinese traditions that you should give your body a rest.
Yeah.
If you're eating all the time, your body's working hard to digest and so forth. So I've been trying to keep that what's sort of like a 12 to 16 hour window where, you're, and the bulletproof coffee helps me through that. I just use a little collagen powder and some MCT oil and, a nice coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I like that. I mean, even I have a morning routine within that. It's not, I don't have as much time to dig, but it is important to set your day, and how I know when I don't have the time to do my morning routine, how it does towards the end of the day, I start to waver a little bit.
Yeah. The other thing I should mention that I've been trying to do more of is to do a little journaling in the morning.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's one of those habits that I need to get more into. But I found that my most productive time is that early morning time after I've meditated, maybe after I've done some stretching, maybe before. And, your mind, you just kind of let it go. The journaling idea is to just write and kind of see what comes out. And it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
It's been good. So I'm trying to combine those mental aspects with the fitness aspects.
Yeah.
And, I'm also trying to do a little more weight training because I could use a lot of it personally. But on the other hand, they say as you get older, it's more important to, protect against losing your muscle mass and kind of working your whole body. So I understand something about that.
Yeah, there's a couple of things about that I've heard of or read some research on. And, but I think, knowing you for now about 15 years, we just connected about 10 minutes before we started this, and you're standing taller, you're leaner.
Thank you.
And I can tell, even within your energy and your presence, that you have been working on yourself, and I can tell that it's paying off.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's good to hear. I need the positive encouragement. We all do, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's true, and a lot of times when we're working and raising a family, you just don't have those times to think about yourself. But looking back on it, I wish I'd maybe gotten up just a little earlier, done some meditation and some stretching, some things that put you in a great peace of mind.
Yeah.
And again, I love yoga and that element of it, but also love a great workout. And I also like, as you know, adventure sports.
Yes.
So whether it's cycling, mountain biking, road biking, skiing, surfing, the thing that I love best about those things is not only that you're challenging yourself all the time, which is great, I love that, but it puts you in that flow state, at least until you crash.
Exactly.
But you're in a flow state, you can let a lot of things go. It's a lot like meditation in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Your mind can just go free, and you're focusing on what your body is doing, and you come out of that refreshed and excited. It's not for everybody, but for me, I love that rush of going fast, under control, most of the time.
Yes. No, I can kind of see that, where sometimes, being able to do something that requires a lot of focus and concentration doesn't allow crazy thoughts or weird things that just kind of float through the head. It allows you to kind of like turn off that button for a little bit, that worry button for a little bit.
Absolutely. Another thing I've been doing quite a bit of up in the mountains in Colorado is hiking. There's an element of that when you're hiking and you let your mind go and your body's engaged in something. And we've been going on long hikes up there, anywhere from 10 to 20 miles back into the deep snowmass wilderness. And my favorite thing to do is to find a mountain lake.
Yeah.
Get up there at the end of the hike and take a dive into that mountain lake.
Yeah.
It's going to wake you up.
That for sure, the cold plunge will do that. If we go back into creating a Berich and what sparked that. I mean, you and having potentially, I wonder, was there a lot of inspiration from seeing what your dad did with a Berich du Soleil, and kind of what was the mindset in saying, kind of coming up with this idea and building this company?
Well, it's a good question, and what happened with me is that I started out my career as a lawyer, and that didn't last very long. Pretty boring. And I started in the development business, and I loved real estate. I loved building things.
Yeah.
And in 1981, my dad and his partner, Claude Ross, built the restaurant here at the Auberge du Soleil, and soon after that opened up the cottages. And so I was looking at that, and I said, oh, that's kind of an interesting business. I should learn more about that. And as I started building things in the real estate side, I like to create things that are going to last for a long time.
Yeah.
They're really high quality. And everything that my dad and Claude did here is of that character.
Yeah.
But the other thing about it that was unusual is that this is a 50-room hotel. And nobody was really building 50-room hotels. Nobody thought those could be that successful.
Yeah.
Well, this property has proved that you can. And so I realized, well, this is an area where I could do something that I wouldn't be, have that much competition.
Yes.
And while there are plenty of small luxury hotels in Europe and so forth, in the United States, there are not that many.
Yeah.
And I started taking a much closer look at this property. And one of the things you realized, and you realize this in real estate, is that you can build whatever you want, but unless it's well managed, it's not going to be worth a lot.
Yes.
It can be worth a lot more if you got a great management company.
Yeah.
So I wanted to develop hotels. I started the management company in 1998. And then what I found was that developers were coming to us and saying, we really like what you're doing. Would you partner with us on this real estate development? Build a hotel. We're going to build some residential. We love this combination of all the amenities and services you have in a hotel with these beautiful luxury homes, not big projects, really the right size projects. So Esperanza is one of the first that came out the chute. Palmetto Bluff, which we don't have anymore, Calistoga Ranch.
Yeah.
We opened in 2004, and then I like to tell this story, that Auberge du Soleil is for adults, and I was raising a family, so I figured I better make a place where I can bring up my kids.
Yeah.
And that's the idea for Solage.
Yeah.
And that's how we were so lucky to get you, because Richard Hill one day ran into you in a gym in Atlanta and said, I love this guy, I got to bring him to the Napa Valley to open up Solage.
Yeah. And he was crazy enough to do that, and
that was the best move he could have made.
Yeah,
You really put us on the map, Donavan, and have gone on to do such great things. And it was a core philosophy around Solage at the time. We started the construction in 2005. We opened in 2007. That we wanted to be about living outdoors. We wanted to be about taking advantage of the good life, enjoying great food, great wine, but also getting in shape.
Yeah.
And eating well. And you remember Brandon was cooking some amazing food.
I know.
The tradition continues today with Chef Rios, and it's. It was funny. I just have to tell a quick story that we were trying to figure out what the food concept was going to be. And I was working with one of the guys here at the Auberge du Soleil, and we kind of came up with this idea of a little bit of heaven and a little bit of hell.
Yeah.
And so the heaven was the really good side, the greens and the fresh produce and all this stuff. And then on the other side, we had sliders, with bacon on them, and the lucky pig. You remember that?
Yes.
Just this big roast pig on, put in the mushu pancakes and everything.
Yeah.
So it's always been the philosophy, live well, eat well, get fit,
Yes.
and take care of yourself. And you don't have to deny yourself those pleasures.
Yeah.
Keep it in balance and stay in shape.
Yeah. One of the things I've enjoyed that you've done with Auberge Resorts, and I've read a couple of articles getting prepared for this, is how each property has its own soul, has its own feeling when you walk onto it. There's a standard when you walk, when you're greeted and stuff. And trust me, I know those. I remember those standards. But even if somebody wasn't, like, even if there wasn't any staff here, the staff is really what makes it. But even if the staff wasn't here, you could walk on the property and you cannot tell necessarily. Now you can, because you've built a great brand. But in the beginning, it's like they each had their own great feeling. Yeah,
they had their own identity. Came out of a couple of things, philosophies, Donavan. Really, first of all, I always thought that real estate ought to reflect the beauty of the location. And, whether we were on the Sea of Cortez down in Cabo, or here in the Napa Valley, or in Aspen, Colorado, there's so many wonderful things about those environments. We are so lucky to be in these beautiful places that, why would you do something that didn't reflect and enhance your kind of experience in those places?
Yeah.
So it really came from that. And the other side of it was really, as small luxury properties, we really wanted to be in a position where people could say, that was a unique experience. It was something I couldn't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, especially in the early years, when I was getting going, Four Seasons, Ritz-Carltons, a lot of bigger brands were saying, we need to be a lot alike.
Yes.
We need to have the same this, the same that. And I just thought that didn't really work and didn't give the guests the sense that they were in a really special place.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a blast. And also, by background, really I'm more of a real estate guy than a hotel guy. And I absolutely love the hotel business. But to me, you create value by creating iconic places that are going to live forever in those locations. And, we like to say, you want to build a place that feels like it belongs there.
Yeah.
It's just kind of that simple.
Yeah. What's, this is kind of more of a personal question I'm asking for myself. If you look back as you were building the company, what would you say are some of the highlights and lowlights, and how did you learn from them because whenever you own a business, or you're going to go through waves.
Well, the highlights were many. We've kind of in a golden age there from 98 through 2008, where a lot of new projects were getting built.
Yeah.
And not that many people understood the small luxury space I was talking about, the 50 to 100 room hotel. So we were being courted by developers in fantastic locations.
Yes.
We built a bunch of properties. A couple of the lowlights were that I thought I could do some of this myself.
Yeah.
And I started a project down in the Caribbean, which, it's a beautiful area, but it's also a graveyard for a lot of deals.
Yeah.
It's really tough to do business there. And, lesson was, you just can't do this yourself. And it was thousands of miles away, and it takes a lot of capital, it takes a lot of people. So I kind of got outside of what we did really well.
Yeah.
And decided to take on, with the idea that we could be successful doing things we hadn't done before or weren't properly equipped to do.
Yeah.
So, never believe your own press release.
Well, but I think like, so where, you kind of spoke on what the lesson was within that, because I think, to continue to evolve and grow, you have to take risks. Like in the moment, when you look back, you're like, that was kind of stupid. But when you think about what you learned from it and what did that experience do over the next 4 or 5 years for your thought process?
Well, it really taught me that you need to have the right partners.
Yeah.
And, partners you got to do your due diligence. You've got to understand what their motivations are. And after 2009, when the world changed quite a bit, became a lot more competitive, I sought out a partner in the business.
Yeah.
And was extremely lucky to find Dan Friedkin. And Dan, strategic, brilliant, really one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And so for us to be able to connect and have his support to build the company was critical. Again, I learned I was not going to be able to do it myself, so pick the right partner and, make sure that you've got all your bases covered. And really that happened, and I was very, very lucky to have that happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's interesting. So now you've in a position where you've sold the company, you've been able to really work on yourself over the last couple of years from a physical standpoint and mental health standpoint, but you still have this wealth of experience and energy and life.
Yep.
And so what are you putting out there for the next 5 or 10 years that you're hoping to kind of like set forth?
Well, I've got a few goals. I mean, one is to continue to, work here with this unbelievable team at the Auberge du Soleil, George and Bradley and Renee and everybody that, have made this property so incredible. And, the world is changing a lot. We've been extremely lucky. This has been a fantastic year for us. But it was followed, in 2020 by the worst year we've ever had. We were closed for the fires, for the pandemic. So, you've got to build in some flexibility. You got to build in resilience, and I want to continue to work on things here. We've got some goals for the main house, and to continue to invest in this property. As it's a beautiful property, and every year we want to add more to it. Yeah. Second thing is to take on a few projects, but I've realized that my most useful goal or skill has been to be in the creative side of things. Yes. So rather than try to do too many things, I want to be involved in the beginning on the concept of projects and figuring out what works, putting together the design team. I love working with great designers and been very blessed to be able to do that over my career. So I want to continue that because that's a very energizing, exciting process. And then finally, help out my kids. I got 2 boys who kind of interested in the business, and I've been sending them some opportunities. They are doing terrific. My daughter also is doing really, really well with everything she's doing in the jewelry business now, but the 2 boys are a little more focused on hospitality and construction and then development. So I want to help get them started, just like my dad helped me. Yeah. That's that's kind of cool to see. The line that comes with going on a hike, finding a lake. There's a discovery piece and you can see how it just lines up with the creative aspect of discovering a piece of land, discovering a place that could use some new energy, and I could see that's directly into your personality. Yeah, and part of it too, Donavan, we were talking about, your ability at times in your life to focus on what you're doing and what you do and what gives you satisfaction, and having the time to do that. I really realized that a lot of what drives me is that creative process. Yeah. So I can focus on that now because I've done these other things, and they've given me a place where I can, take advantage of opportunities that are presented to me. But I can also give it a lot more focus on the creative side and not worry about the other stuff that, that gets filled in by other really capable people that can do a much better job than me. But if I can add value and get a lot out of being part of the creative process, the concept, and the development of properties, then I'm good. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's awesome. Yeah. We kind of went through everything that I really wanted to go into. Did you have any questions for me at all? Well, I'm excited to hear about the, what's ahead for you. You've built an incredible franchise here, in recognition. And here's this guy that came out here on a whim. And, I think part of it too, Donavan, is, building the brand that you have, which is so much to do with your approach to things. You're so positive. As you mentioned, we were talking about Dwayne and Susan Hoff. I know some of your biggest fans, and that's one of the first things they said is, he's just such a positive guy, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So what's up ahead with you?
So, I mean, some of the things that we're focused on over the next 2 to 3 years of things I can say is, well, one, A Bear's Resource has been an inspiration. So, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be able to sit down with you. And, I've seen that same connection, that you saw, that, hey, you can be a part of the creative process, which I love.
Yeah. Also,
like, creating something, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, the touch points. But, for it to really thrive, it's like, a plant. You can't just plant it and leave it alone.
Yeah. Gotta feed it.
You gotta feed it, care for it. So, I'm in that process of, we've been building a team, and, we have about over 45 instructors.
Wow.
And,
that's awesome.
And then we have a core team of about 6 that is kind of my leadership team, and our goal is to, through some advice about it, is slowly to grow, stay in Napa for the core part, but start to grow into Sonoma. And I've told, with going back and forth, how far out do we go, and how fast do we do that? Yeah. But connecting with other resorts, had a great chat with your brother this morning.
Oh, good.
So about his project coming up. So that's kind of one side of it. And then the other side is, I really care about, I've really come to grown me, Chris Canning, who's, love the Up Valley, St. Helena, Calistoga, most of Napa Valley, but that's the core community that I've worked with.
Yeah.
And so we've built a great gym in Calistoga, and I kind of see this space of going towards a building and developing something that, we've been doing the fitness, but that addresses what's the difference between longevity and fitness.
Yeah.
And there's a medical aspect in there, and there's some other partners that I think can come together to because I'm realizing from talking with people like yourself that I can't do it on my own, and I want this to be positive for the community. So that's kind of the next things that are on deck.
That's awesome. Well, I love a couple of things you said there, Donavan. First of all, go slow and build on quality, and it's kind of like in the hotel business, or in your business, it's one guest at a time, right?
Yes, exactly.
Just got to make it work for them. And I love your patience. I see too many companies that, grow for the sake of growth. And there's an old saying there, more companies die from indigestion than starvation.
Yeah.
It's taking on too much, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what happens. And also, I truly appreciate that you're building your team, because, the business is all about the team, whether you're in hospitality or, you're in the hospitality business as well. But, in fitness and what you're doing, it's about building a team of dedicated people and the culture around excellence.
Yeah.
Which I know is what you're all about. So that's awesome. I'm excited to see the next steps.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll figure out some ways to work together.
I know, that's what I hope for, and I'll definitely be keeping you. You're on my short list of people I'll be staying in touch with.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for joining me.
My pleasure, Donavan.
Awesome.
Thank you.